is working for you. He said, I've not left you, I've not abandoned you. I never stop working. He told his disciples, I'm leaving now, but I'm going to prepare a place for you. And where I am, you might be, 'cause I never stop. He said, boys, you're not going to see me for a while. But while you're running and doing your thing, I'm working. I'm not just sitting eating potato chips. Let me tell you what he's doing. Let me tell you. He's opening doors for your favor. He's making a way for you, yeah. You're gonna be blessed in the city. You're gonna be blessed in the field. You're gonna be blessed coming. You're gonna be blessed going. He said houses you didn't build, vineyards you didn't plant, 'cause I never stop working. I never stop. Sometimes it feels like you're all alone. Sometimes it feels like you can't phone a friend. He never stops, he never stops, but he never stops. Even in your darkest night he's working. Even when you have tears in your pillow he's working. He never stops, he never stops. Always of that. You know that's not true. But you know, I know a man who doesn't change. If he did it yesterday, he'll do it again. If he did it in the Bible, he can do it again. He's never stopped loving you. He's never stopped providing. Even the air you breathe is a gift. And the food you eat is a gift. 'Cause he never stops. He never stops. He never stops. He never stops. It's your season to be blessed. God gave you a promise. It's your season. You can have what God said you can have. You can do what God said you would do. It's your season. It's your season. It's your season.
Praise the Lord, everyone. I'm excited to be here with my friend Marcus. We got
Man,
an exciting
amen.
show today. We're going to talk about a lot of different subjects. First off, you probably noticed that Bishop isn't here. Bishop is out of town. He's in another state right now. So let's continue to pray for him that the Lord brings him back safely.
Amen.
He's not on a vacation. He's not doing anything personal. He's on a ministry trip. So let's just be praying for him that the Lord blesses him. If you want him to know that you're praying for him, put it in the comments. You know that we love him. And we're praying for him, and we're getting ready for Pastor Appreciation Sunday, and we're excited about that. He's a great man of God. Um,
Absolutely.
One thing I was thinking about it today, uh, as I was preparing for practice, and Bishop wasn't here. Of course, he's out of town. As I was preparing for practice and spending the day here working, doing a fraction of what he does every single day. And he deserves a lot of credit because it's a lot of work. And we just did two practices. We're excited for Wednesday. We're excited for Sunday. So let's just be praying for him and love him when he gets back and let him know we're thinking of him and we miss him.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
excited to have my guest, our guest Bishop's guest here, Marcus Henderson. I'll let him introduce himself and who he is, and we just love him.
Yes. It's good to be loved, and I love Zach here. I love Pastor. I love Bishop. I call him Bishop, and then I call him Pastor, but he's really Bishop. So if I slip up and call him Pastor, please forgive me. But I'm a member here, so it's been a wonderful experience just being a member here at Compassion. I started coming when they were Vita or V Life over on the north end. So um, it's been a blessing, this whole time. Knowing Bishop, knowing Zach, knowing all the members here. So me and my family, we all go here and we love it. My daughter loves it, my wife loves it, so I love it as well. So it's really great to be here. It's great to be on this podcast, and it's great to be a child of God. Especially in the time of now. Like all the things that's going on in this world. So it's definitely a blessing. So um, I'm Marcus Henderson. I've been born and raised here in Toledo, Ohio. So I know pretty much a lot of people in this small city. A lot of people say, "Oh, is this city small?" It really is small, because you know somebody, or if you don't know somebody, you know somebody that knows somebody. So it's definitely a blessing. But I'm not gonna talk too much. I'm gonna kind of bounce off my brother here.
And that's
So
that's why we brought him on to talk. So we'll get him talking a little bit. Marcus, tell us a little bit about some of your passions, some of the things that you feel that God's called you to do in this city and helping different people. I know that getting to know you, I know you deal a little bit with real estate. Could you talk about that a little bit?
so real estate, man, I've been in different aspects of real estate. So um first off, I would say I'm called to help people just in general. So um I have a saying that I say, God is using me to be a blessing to others, whether it's financially or life-changing ways or resourcefully. So I just use whatever the knowledge that God gives me, and I just use that to help people. Real estate happened to be one of those avenues. Real estate, I got into real estate. Me and my wife, back in '09, um, as investors. So I know the investing side of it. And then I got my realtor's license in 2014. So I was a realtor for 5 years as well. So I know the investment side, and then I know the realtor side. Um, it's a blessing to help people. So real estate, helping people through real estate is really a blessing, because that's probably going to be probably most people, probably 98% of people in the world, is going to be their biggest purchase in their life is going to be buying a house. So in that process, you want them to feel as comfortable as possible. You want them to feel um it's roller coasters when you buying a house. So you want to be that person that they can lean on, and that they can, put their frustrations on, because you're not just a realtor, you're everything. You're a counselor, you're a realtor, you're everything pretty much. So um but that's definitely a avenue that God has used me to help people, is through real estate. So I thank God for that. So
Amen. And the thing about ministry and what God has called you to do is that everything that we do isn't for us. Everything that we do is to help somebody else. And like you said, there's different
Mm-hmm.
ways to do that. And one of the ways that you do it is you help people find a house and you help them build their future and plan for the future. Now, as many of us know, and we can see the way that the world is today compared to 10 years, compared to 20 years, how would
Mm-hmm.
you say that the market has changed or shifted throughout the years? And what advice would you give somebody that's looking to maybe buy a house today in
Well,
today's market?
well, good question. First of all, great question. Everything is in cycles. Like to answer part of the question about the past and kind of 10 years, 10 years away, 5 years and stuff like that in the past, and even going into the future. Everything's in cycles. So you always got a cycle. So back in '07, if you live long enough, we'll tend to see like cycles, but like you got like inflations, and then you got like the housing market crash, so like back in '06, from like '06 to like '08, you had like a housing crash where like banks were going bankrupt, and then you had like the prices, you can get houses for hundreds of dollars and pennies on a dollar. I think my father-in-law got houses for like a couple $100 and stuff like that. So that's when the market was down, so now the market is up now. So we're talking 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. So the market was down back in '07, so now it's
Hmm.
up now. So everything's in cycles. Everything's in cycles. It's going to be up, then it's going to go down, and it's going to go up, it's going to go down. So um I would give advice as of right now. If you need a house, if you can wait, wait. Because yes, you can sell your house for a lot of money now, but if you're buying a house, you're gonna have to buy a house for a lot of money. So it's like it's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
So but I would say wait if you can, but if you can't wait, still buy the house, do what you gotta do. And then you can maybe refinance if that's possible, in the future. So if you get like a high interest rate, you can refinance down the road, and then you can refinance for a lower interest rate. So but if you gotta buy a house, you gotta buy a house. So there's nothing you can do about that. So but if you can wait, wait.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's something that we noticed that, just because you're selling your house high doesn't mean that there's a whole lot out there for you to buy because the
mhm.
the market's so competitive and you got all these
Yeah,
houses that are expensive and you're selling your house expensive, so it's really hard to get yourself in a good situation. Which
yeah.
I know you personally, I know that to you it's not just about selling houses, it's about setting people up for success and you want to help them with their future because you don't want to put somebody in a house they can't afford.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and I've been around sales, around car sales. You don't want to put somebody in a car they can't afford. You want to make sure they can afford it. Um, Everybody has ideas about how
Yeah.
to be successful. Everybody has Many people have a lot of ideas, but the thing is, it's not just about your ideas. It's about putting your ideas to work. So,
Absolutely.
what are some things that what would you say are some things we can do to set ourselves up for success? And because in having all these ideas, how do we put our ideas to paper and actually get them to work? What's some advice you would give somebody that has a whole lot of ideas and how to be successful, but they're struggling finding themselves?
I've I don't know if I read it. Either I read it in a book or I seen it on YouTube or something like that. But a goal isn't have a goal and have ideas like, but they're invisible. They're not real until you put them
Hmm.
on paper or until you at least type it on the computer or something. So a goal is not real until you put it on something. So whether that's paper, whether you type it out, that's when it becomes real. So then now it becomes real when you put it on paper. So now you can strategically plan your goals of what you want to do. And then another thing is you have to work. I would say work out and then work yourself back. So for instance, if you have a goal or something you want to accomplish, you have to go out maybe 10 years
Hmm.
and then what it looks like in 10 years. And then you back yourself up. So, okay, this is what it looks like in 10 years. And then you back up to 5 years. And then you come back to a year. And then you break it all the way down from a year to months to weeks to days. You got to break it down incrementally because that gives you daily you have daily goals now, and your daily goals are they're micro goals, but each day is a each day is it's accomplished when you accomplish that daily goal, because those daily goals, it's a snowball effect. Those
Okay.
daily goals
Hmm.
turn into weekly goals, and the weekly turn into monthly, and as long as you paying attention to your daily goals, then you reach eventually, the long term. So I would that would be my advice, like to summarize it. um think long term, whatever your goal or your idea is, and then back yourself up. So come back, and then you bring it all the way down, and you break it down to daily. And then if you're winning daily, you'll eventually win weekly, and then
Hmm.
you win weekly, you win monthly, and then you win monthly, you win yearly. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, and I've
So
noticed that a lot of people struggle with that because they don't know exactly what they want to do. So it's human nature. We have a lot of things that we want and desire, but Bishop always talks about this. You want to write the vision down, you want to make it plain. You want to make sure you can understand it. And then, like you're
mhm.
saying, you want to calculate everything that it costs for you to get there. So I got a 10-year goal, and this is what I want to be in 10 years. What do I got to do each month to make sure this happens? What do
Absolutely.
I got to do every single day so I can get to my goal? And I've noticed a lot of times when we have goals and we put ourselves out there, um, problem is we change them all the time. You
Yeah,
know, we
yeah,
want a new car and then we change our mind. We don't want a new car no more. We want a new house.
yeah.
Then we change our mind. We don't want a new house. Well, then you find yourself 5 years down the road and you haven't accomplished a whole lot. And it's
Yeah.
because you couldn't decide what you wanted to do, and you ended up doing a lot of different things, and you got a lot of different mess because you didn't put yourself to a, you know, this is what I want to be,
Mhm.
and this is how I'm going to do it. So that's a very great point, and I appreciate
Mhm.
that. For some people that might be asking that same question, what does it actually mean? But it makes perfect sense. You want to set out your goal, 10 years, and then you
Mhm.
want to break it down and say, what does it cost for me to get there every single day? So I,
Yeah,
I like that. I appreciate that. That's
yeah.
a great advice.
And it also goes to what Bishop preached about.
Hmm.
Like you said, with the people that don't know, or they'll start something and then they start something different. Like what Bishop preached about when he said purpose.
Hmm.
So that's really important too, because knowing your purpose and knowing what God has called you to do, that keeps you focused too.
Hmm.
Because knowing your purpose. Now it's okay to make pivots. Like sometimes because we have plans too, and then God has a plan.
That's correct.
So sometimes He can shift your plan. So it's okay to pivot, but as long as you got that purpose and know what you're supposed to be doing, then you'll, for the most part, you'll stay on track. So,
Yeah. You just got to know what God's called you to do, and you got to
mhm,
find yourself, working in my purpose. That's one of the
yeah,
things that Bishop has taught all of us, and we've had one-on-one conversations that find out what you're good at, and then you work that. You have to learn how to manage what God gave you, the gift that
yeah,
God gave you. So if you're good at something, like you are at real estate, you have to know how to manage that. So you
yeah,
really have to find your purpose in God and know how to manage your gift, because if you find yourself working outside your gift, then there's really no covering.
that's true.
God can't really protect you, you know, put you where he wants you to be, because now you're outside your purpose. And
Yeah,
you don't want to be caught outside your purpose.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a great point. And I'll put a plug in there. If you missed, if you're not remembering what we're talking about, go back and watch last Sunday service. And Bishop was talking about purpose, and it's very important for us to know what God has called us to do. And if you don't know what God has called you to do, you gotta figure it out. You have to figure it out. It's very important.
yeah. Absolutely, I agree. And it's in Romans, because I actually did a thing on that, but it's Romans where they talk about in the Bible. I'm talking Romans, I think it's 12. It's either Romans 12 or Romans 8, where they talk about like the spiritual gifts,
Hmm.
like the gifts that God has given you. And then I think in Corinthians, I think they also talk about it. First Corinthians.
Hmm.
I wrote it down, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's a good way to start too. Like you want to know like your spiritual gift and what God has placed in you. Stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, yeah, man, it's real good. And when you know what you're called to do, like it's no better feeling, because it's like, man, this is no matter what, like you got something to fight for. Like you got something like, I'm gonna fight for this because I know this
Hmm.
this is what I'm called to do. So yeah,
And you had mentioned something in your response. You had used the word pivot, and I'm gonna piggyback off of you. But if you could dive into that word pivot, and you said you have different things that happen on the way. What would you be? What would you call pivoting? What does that mean to you?
I would say pivoting is when you so if you put a goal out and you lay a goal out. So let's use let's use an example like let's say you want to start a business. Let's say you want to start a business and say you want to start a food business, right? So you feel that that's what God has called you to do that. So you want to start a food business. So you want to start a restaurant business. So you may think that okay, I want to do desserts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your goal. You put it out. Okay, I'm gonna do desserts. I'm gonna do desserts, and you might see it a certain way. Like okay, I see it like this, and it's gonna be this, and it's gonna be that, and you might even think it's in Toledo. You know, so God may open an opportunity in Columbus, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
and that's an example of a pivot because you've seen it being here, and you've seen it on this street, and you've seen this building, and you've seen all this and that, and God opened the door for you in another city, and that's a pivot. So it's an opportunity somewhere else that you never even thought about.
Right.
So that's an example of a pivot, I
Okay.
would say.
Yeah, and I've noticed too. A lot of times we write goals out for ourselves. Sometimes we become selfish, and like you said, you wanted a certain way because that's how
Hmm.
you saw it. But just because you saw it like that doesn't mean that's how God saw it.
Oh, and another, sorry to
Oh,
cut
you're
you
good.
off.
Go ahead.
Another example of pivot is the church,
Yeah.
I would say, because in V Life, and I'm sure Bishop has shared this, and it's not like a secret or anything like that. But like event at first, we were going to get another church. You
Yep.
remember that?
Yep.
We were looking about, oh, we're gonna get another church, and God pivoted,
Yep.
and
That's
He brought
correct.
us here to Compassion. So that's another example of a pivot, because like we seen it at that time. The bishop had a vision, I'm sure,
Yep.
and he was like, okay, we're gonna get a new church and this and that, and it ended up being Compassion. The
That's
church
correct.
is already here,
Yep.
so
Compassion,
yeah,
you could say, was a pivot for sure.
yeah,
And the thing
yeah,
about compassion was too is it was everything we prayed for.
yeah,
We
exactly,
had a daycare, we had a gym,
yeah,
we had a bigger sanctuary. It was everything we prayed for, but it wasn't exactly how we saw it.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
that's a great example of a pivot. We had prayed for all this, we had seen it somewhere else, but God said, "No, I called you here,"
yeah,
and it was everything
yeah,
we wanted. And that's the thing about that. Sometimes we worry about it not going our way, but sometimes it's good for it to not go your way because His way's better.
yeah,
His ways are higher, and
yeah.
what He had for you was even better than what you had prayed for. So
Amen.
I thank God that we're walking in our pivot, and that we're with compassion, and God pivot us there. And the thing is too, along the way, you're always going to have trials. You're always going to have doubt that comes into your mind. But
That's
I would
true.
encourage anyone who's watching that life gets tough sometimes, and you're going to walk in your purpose, and sometimes you're going to feel like, I can't do it no more, I feel like giving up. But don't let the enemy distract you from what God has for you, because where you're going is a lot better than where you've been. So just
Hmm.
stay focused on what God has called you to. Don't look back and keep going, because there's greater ahead. And if you let the devil get in your mind, if you let him take your
Yeah,
mind, he'll take you down a long road you don't want to go.
that is
And
true.
then before you know it, you're going to get triggered to doing things you used to do, and things that you shouldn't be doing anymore. So don't let that sneaking devil get in your mind to tell you you're not worth nothing, because you are worth something, because God has a plan for you. Just keep going.
Amen.
Don't give up.
Amen.
So,
That is true.
and when you said pivot, that's what it meant to me. That sometimes you're not gonna have the best day. Every day is not gonna be. You might be walking in your purpose, but that doesn't mean trials don't come.
That's
That
true.
means that doesn't mean you're not gonna have a bad day. Just because I'm
Hmm.
walking in my purpose doesn't mean the enemy is not gonna attack me. He's probably gonna attack you a little bit more
Yeah,
because you're
yeah, yeah.
walking in your
Because
purpose.
he don't
And
want
yeah,
you to get. Yeah, he
and
don't
then
want you.
sometimes we let ourselves get confused, where we think, well, there's so much contradiction, there's so much going against me, maybe this isn't for me. No, it is for you. You just have to keep fighting. And
Yeah,
that's what we do every day when we wake up. We fight. You do it every day when you go to work. You fight,
yeah,
because not every day is easy. I'm
That's
sure
true.
you've had bad days, and I'm sure you could talk about that if you're comfortable. Some of your, your low times and how you got yourself out of it and pushed yourself through.
Yeah, it's funny that when you say bad days. I remember I had a lady. It's a lady that I showed like 50 houses to, like, and she just would not buy a house, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I got so mad. I got so mad that I fired her. Like she hired me to be her realtor. I fired her. Like I said, you know what? I can't. I fired her. So I well, at least I tried to, right? And then the other funny part is she actually became like family. She's like a mom to me now. So I met a, I meet a lot of people that become family. Like during the process of helping them buy houses and stuff like that, they become family. So now I see them and it's, oh, this is like my son, or this is like my auntie, or this is like my uncle, stuff like that. So, but that's an example of like not necessarily a day, but like a situation that wasn't going
The way you
the
wanted
way
it
I
to.
wanted it to
Yeah.
go. Like I'm like, dude, I don't show this many houses. Like, lady, you gotta, like, listen, what's wrong? Like, I keep asking you, you're not telling me. Like, I'm feeling like I'm not doing my job now.
Hmm.
Like, I'm showing you everything you asked for, and you still not pulling the trigger and stuff. And I got to the point I fired her. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this with you no more. You got to find another realtor. I'm done. Like, and then the next house she bought,
Yeah.
the next house she bought. So, and then that was but she turned out to be like a mom to me, man. Like she still is. Like that's the crazy part. Like all her family, her sons are like my brothers and stuff. And they're from Africa too, so they're like
Okay.
West Africa. So
Okay.
she had like a real strong like accent and stuff.
But
So
maybe she was just looking at all those houses with you because she wanted to get to know you.
nah, she know my situation. So she you funny, but no, she knew my situation. She know I got a wife and kids and stuff like that. So and she's old enough to be my mom, so
That's
she was real good people.
but that's something though. Even like in a situation like that, when you were probably thinking, "Man, you know, sometimes you have carnal thinking, so I'm not trying to make you sound bad when I say this, but everybody sometimes has that carnal thinking. But you're thinking, man, I'm glad I finally sold her a house, so I don't got to deal with her no more. But she ended up being somebody that ended up being like a mentor or a mother figure to you, even
Yeah,
when something as difficult as that. It's just how God turns things around. And
yeah,
sometimes you don't understand them, but at the end, like you said, she's like, you guys end up building a good relationship and a bond. So
yeah,
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 and God works in mysterious ways. So
yeah.
that's how I ended up doing the being the host tonight because God works in mysterious ways. But I'm
Absolutely,
excited. I see everybody commenting on here, so I just want to thank you guys for continuing to watch, even though Bishop isn't here, and we're excited. We got our guest here, Marcus Henderson, and he just loves
absolutely,
the Lord and he's excited to be here.
absolutely. Another thing on the pivot, um, it's the journey as well. So sometimes like gotta pivot. He'll make you pivot to learn something that you didn't even know you needed to know or you needed to learn.
Mm-hmm.
like like let's just say you're a musician
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't know that you needed to learn how to be an engineer or to do film or to do like, so it's like things that you, and then you'll look back and say, oh, that's why God took me that way so I can learn that thing,
Mm-hmm.
because if I never learned that, then I wouldn't be able to do this. And so that's another thing too. That's a good thing about pivoting. Like he show you stuff that you didn't even know you needed to learn, and then once you learn it and you look back and you'll say that's why, so that's another thing that came to my mind while you was talking. So
It's those little things that happen, that God protects you from and he gives you a covering over. That's why it's so important in walking in your purpose, because those little things you don't realize how important they are.
that's
And that
true.
goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. When you have to write down your goal, you put it on paper, and every day matters, and
Yeah,
every little thing matters. So every decision you make, you got to make sure you're doing it in your purpose, because like you said, when it comes when they say when rubber meets the road, when it's time to pivot, you don't realize how important that's going to be in your future until you
yeah,
get there and God shows you this is why I kept you from that,
yeah,
or this is why you had
absolutely.
to go here. And then and it just gives you so much gratitude and appreciate his will and his love for you, because
Hmm.
even when you didn't understand it, he was still working in your favor, and
Yeah,
you just have to keep working in that and not giving up on that, because life gets difficult. And
That's true.
especially with an economy that's up and down, like you said earlier. I almost said this morning, but earlier, it's the economy's it's a cycle.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's true.
you just have to make sure you're walking in your purpose. And tell me a little bit more about you, Marcus. Some of your hobbies. You were supposed to do most of the talking.
I try. I try to golf. I try. I haven't. I can't even say that because I only went out one time. This year, but I do enjoy it as far as a hobby. I'm the type of person I like quiet time. Like I like me time. You know, I like quiet. I like chilling. I'm like a homebody. I like to just relax and chill. Um, you know, whether watch a movie or um learn something. I'm always on YouTube learning something or reading. I haven't been reading as much, but I like to read too. Not everything, but like certain. I read specific to like something I'm trying to do. Like if
Okay.
I'm about to do something, then I'll read like a whole bunch of books on that subject and then try to go at it. You know, but um, I enjoy being around people. Not all the time though. I'm not one of those. Like I just always got to be. Oh, I want people. Like no, it's like in spurts. You know, with me. But um, man, I love helping people. I love teaching people like stuff that I learn. You know, I like showing people like, oh, look what I learned or something like that. But for people that want to learn too, like I
Yeah.
don't like teaching people that don't. You teach them and then they go through one ear and not the other. You know, but people that actually want to learn something, you know, I don't mind pouring everything that I know into them. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy that. Um, uh, a lot of things, man. I'm real simple though. Just chill at home. Um, with the fam, and that's pretty much it, man. I like to eat, you know. I like to eat, go out to eat. I don't go out too much, but when I do, you know, I like to go to nice places and stuff like that. I like I'm into languages now and stuff like that, learning languages and
I heard you
um
speaking Spanish earlier.
yeah, I've been learning. I've been learning. I'm not fluent yet, and at least not where I want to be. I'm probably like intermediate, you know, but I want to learn a third one. Probably when I get real fluent to where I'm comfortable, then I'm probably learn a third one. I don't know, probably French, either French or like Italian. I don't know,
Mm.
probably French because I think it's spoken more around the world. But I'm gonna stop at three. That's it. After that, um, yeah, I mean, I like sports. We both, me and you both, we're like Michigan fans. You like Pittsburgh too?
No, I can't do Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. That's Trevor.
That's
That's
Trevor.
Trevor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like sport. I like football. You know, big Wolverine fan.
Go blue.
And Pittsburgh NFL.
People are gonna start
Uh,
logging off now because we're talking about
yeah,
Michigan.
yeah, yeah. That's okay though. That's okay. They win. You know, they got they win. So, but yeah, man. I mean, that's it. I love, you know, spending time with God. I love like you know, when an idea come to your head or you like, oh, you know, like, oh that or something like that. And it's like I feel like the ideas are from God, I feel. Like, I mean, it's our idea. We think like we thought of it, but it's like I feel
Yeah.
like God put the idea in my head. That's how I look at it, you know. So um yeah, man. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
I'll say this. Ever since we moved to Compassion, having the opportunity to work with you in terms of music, it's been I've had a good time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really hard when you play. For me, when it's really hard when you play multiple instruments to try and pour out into other people. But I
Yeah.
mean, I've had a joy, having you there on the praise and worship team, and it's excited. I'm excited about what God's doing. But if you want, if you could talk a little bit more about that, the music side and how you got into music. And I know your dad plays organ too.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So music, it's funny. I'm about to tell you some stuff that you didn't know.
Okay, yeah, this is what this is for.
I'm about to tell you some stuff. So okay, this how this happened. All right, my dad plays. So my dad plays keyboard his whole life. He's in the '60s, you know, mid '60s. So he's played his whole life. He always wanted one of us to play. It's three boys. We're not no sisters. It's all three boys. He always wanted one of us to play. So none of us never picked up on it ever. Like So high school for me, I played football. Like that's all I wanted to do was football. Like I didn't care nothing about anything else at that time. I wasn't even really saved. I mean, I went to church, but I was a different person. So like I didn't care nothing about but sports. So um football, football, football. That's all I cared about. Football, football, football. So my senior year, I got hurt. I got injured. So pretty much I was done for the season. Like it was over. So my dad bought me a keyboard
Okay.
before that, but I never. It was just like collecting dust, like a little small little keyboard, like a little Casio. And I got hurt, and I couldn't play football, so I was at home, and I like looked and seen a keyboard, so I picked it up and I started playing around, like and making little beats and stuff like that. So I would say that happened. That's the pivot, But
Mm-hmm.
um, so I start playing, making little beats, right? So I start making beats, like just rap beats, regular rap beats. My boy across the street would come over, he record them for me and stuff like that. So fast forward, this was all my senior year in high school. So I ended up looking into like music and stuff like that. So I ended up finding a school for audio engineering
Okay.
um, in New York City. So it was called IAR at the time. I don't even think they're still. It was called Institute of Audio Research. So I ended up finding that, and I ended up going there after high school. So I went there. I moved to New York City. I stayed there for 2 years. I did the school. The school was a year, and then I couldn't find an internship. Um, Sadly, you would think, but um, so I went to school for audio engineering in New York. Um, and then from there, I couldn't find an internship. So I ended up finding an internship here in Toledo at Cornerstone. Cornerstone had a radio station back in the day. I don't know if you would remember or not, but they had a radio station. It was an AM.
Okay.
It was called 1520 Jams. So I knew somebody here, and then they, talked to them, and then they found me an internship. That's how I ended up coming back here. I would have never been back. We would have never met. I would have never came back. But I came back. I found an internship there, and I did that of the radio. And then from that though, I didn't get a job after that, so nothing came from that. But that's what got me back here to Toledo. Um, and then from there, I kind of still messing around with the music and stuff like that. Recorded some songs and stuff like that. Like as far as producing songs and
Okay.
stuff, not like a rap or anything like that, but
So you,
like
you ain't got no
doing
mix.
it.
You don't got no mixtapes out there.
No, I don't got no
Okay.
mixtapes. No, no, no mixtape. But that's how music came about for me. So just doing that, and then I took like a long year off, like years off, and not even touching it, and then coming back here. I kind of felt like I seen a need, like not a big need, because Bishop's great at what he do, and then you great at what you do, and your dad and stuff like that. But I seen kind of a need, like okay, they can maybe use, I can fill in a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me back into it, So yeah, that's how the whole music thing came about.
Okay.
I got a well, I haven't done anything with it, but I have a Christian entertainment company too. And we did an event back in before the pandemic. Like we did an event at the Stranahan and stuff like that. It was a gospel event. So that was real nice too. Like that was a great experience. So I mean that's how all that came together,
Yeah.
pretty much. So
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about pivoting.
yeah,
So that's a
yeah.
perfect example. Um, I'd seen a question on here. We can answer that question. Sylvia had asked about what inspires you, and I'll answer this too. She asked both of us, but I'll let you go first. What would you say inspired you? You know, to be the man that you are, the family man that you are, and the musician, man of God that you are. What was your inspiration?
Growing up outside of God, my inspiration was my mom, and still to this day. But it was more so growing up, seeing my mom like the things that seeing that she would do anything for me, for my success, So I would say her growing up, still to this day, she's still inspiration, but more so growing up,
Mm-hmm.
because she's the one that raised me. Like my parents weren't together, So um, I would say my mom growing up, and I would say now as an adult, um, just really being sure and knowing God's purpose for my life. I would say that's what inspires me, because it's like when you want to quit, when you like, man, I don't want, knowing like, okay, this is really what I'm called to do, and I got to do it. Like whether you like it or not. He gave you the gift to give to others. You're not gonna always want to give the gift, but you got the gift. Like you can't be stingy with the gift. Like he gave you the gift to give to others. Like he
Yeah.
didn't give you the gift to be stingy and go off of your moods and what you want to do, and so even people you don't like, like you still have to use your gift, to help that person or stuff like that. So I would say that one inspires me now is knowing my purpose, knowing what God is called me to do. Yeah. So
I'll piggyback off of you. My inspiration was a little bit different, and it kind of going back to what we said earlier. Sometimes things in your life change, and
mm,
I started learning music when I was about 10 years old. I had never met my grandpa, which is my dad's dad, but he had left tapes, old VCR tapes, and they were different. There was different musicians on there, conjunto Tejano style music, which is in our tradition. My whole family plays music, and when I watched those tapes, I felt a connection with my grandpa that I had never met. And
mm,
I'd say from a young age, my inspiration was, I wanted to make my family proud. I wanted
mm,
to make, I wanted to make my grandpa proud. And so I pushed myself. I started on the drums. I learned the drums first. My brother plays the drums. My dad plays the drums. And like I said, I come from a very musical family. A lot of my family plays
yeah,
music. So my inspiration at a really young age it was, I wanted to make, my family proud.
yeah,
And my inspiration was really music from a young age. And when I had met Bishop when I was 12 years old, I was either 12 or 11. I don't really remember now. Um, when I had met Bishop, that's one of the things that drew me in was that he's
mm,
such a talented musician, and I'll give him a shout out again. He's a very talented musician, and
absolutely,
that was
absolutely,
one of the things that he became, you know, my inspiration at a young age,
yeah,
and I had always looked up to him because he was always dressed nice. He always played good music.
mm,
He was preaching the word of God. So at a young age, my inspiration was really music and Bishop because
yeah,
he was a mentor to me. He was somebody that I looked up to and wanted to be like. He wore suits all the time, so I would wear suits to school. I'd carry
mm,
my Bible to school, and I'd just learn music and keep learning and keep learning. But I said this on Sunday, and people might have thought I was being a little bit mean, and if I was mean, I'm sorry. But when I was talking about pastor appreciation, I had talked about, you know, um, when I first met him wasn't when I got my chance. I had to
yeah,
wait until it was my turn.
yes,
And
yeah,
that's the thing that, a lot of people don't want to do. They get inspired and they have a lot of faith and they want to do something, but when it doesn't come instant,
yeah,
they give up.
yeah,
And I had to wait, you know, between 3 to 4 years before I got my chance to be
yeah,
on the praise and worship team. And when I
that's
got my
good.
chance, I never let it go.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
something that I fight for all the time because it's easier to sin and walk away than it is to walk in your purpose.
yes,
You know,
it's
it's hard
good.
to walk in your purpose. Sometimes you have
Yeah,
to take the high road when you don't want to take the high road. Sometimes you got
yeah,
to say, I'm wrong, even though you probably aren't wrong. But
yeah,
when you fought for something and you've been inspired by somebody for so long, you have to learn how to walk in your purpose. And like I said, there's a pivot that comes and there's things that come along the way, but you have to remember how long you waited for it. And if it cost you nothing, it's going to be worth nothing.
yeah,
What we do, it's cost us a lot. We put a lot into it. So it means everything to us,
yes,
you know? So we don't just let it go. And that's why we keep going. And when we moved over here to Compassion, and you started working with us on the praise team, you really added something to the praise team that you really didn't. Not just another sound coming out the speakers, but you also added your personality and the fact that you're just like me and Bishop. You've worked a lot hard your whole life, and
mm,
you're willing to put it all and work and continue working, and that's the kind of
mm,
personality that we need in a team. And you've always been about the team. You always tell us all the time, I'll do whatever. If you guys need me
yes,
to play, I'll play. If you don't want me to play, I won't play. And that's something that I appreciate, the praise team appreciates, and I know Bishop appreciates. And I
amen,
want to thank you
amen,
for that, man, because you've been a team player since you came
Yeah.
over here, and you're somebody that me or Bishop never has to worry about. You know,
Yes.
we never have to worry about is Marcus going to quit. We know you're not going to
Yeah.
quit because you're just like us. There's no quit in us. We're going
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
going. Even
Yeah.
when, even on your darkest days, even when you're not having a good day, even when you're a little bit late on Sunday, once in a while, like maybe once or twice,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you're not going to give up. I know you're not going to get bothered. You're going to keep going and you're going to keep pushing. And I'll say that I really appreciate that. And just being
Man, thank
around,
you.
just being around people like you, that inspires me too. You know what I mean?
Thank
To
you.
keep
Thank
going.
you.
So I appreciate you. And
Thank you.
I want
You
to thank you for
about
everything
to
you
make
do.
me cry, man.
Well,
No, I appreciate you, man.
no,
Thank you.
you've
Thank
worked
you.
hard your whole life, man, and
Thank
I've
you.
worked hard to get where I'm at. And two people that when you get people that work and they're not going to give up, that's a beautiful thing because we
Yeah.
know, and like you said before, it's not all about us. We may be talented, but we know it's not about us.
Yeah.
Our talents aren't just for us. Our talents are for other people too. When we go up there on Sunday and we praise and we give it our all, there's other people out there that their lives are getting touched. And maybe they
Yeah.
might not tell us or we might not see it, but I've been to other churches and I've had the opportunity to travel with Bishop, and they'll say, "Brother, the way you play just touched my heart." And you don't
Yeah.
realize that when you're playing, you don't realize but you're just walking in your purpose.
Yeah.
And if you just walk in your purpose, people's lives can be changed.
That's
So
true.
I appreciate you being here, man, and
Yes.
and we're
Thank you.
walking in purpose tonight. And I believe that even though Bishop's not here, and I think everybody that's continuing to watch, even with Bishop not being here, but I believe there's still purpose for anybody who's watching, and
Yeah.
I believe there's a purpose we're doing this tonight. So
Absolutely.
we just love everybody who's watching, and we're praying for them. But being around people like you and Bishop and being around music, that's what's inspired me.
Yes.
And
What inspires you now?
now
Yeah.
it's the same thing, man. Bishop's
Okay.
Bishop's been
Okay.
a rock for me for my whole life, and there's people you have to realize that you know sometimes you're not all that.
Yeah.
Even though I'm multi-talented and I can play multiple instruments, there's times that he could have gave up on me and he didn't, and I appreciate him for that because he did it. And if anybody knows Bishop, he doesn't give up on nobody.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
true.
always he's always been an inspiration. I've always wanted to be like him. I don't want to be him. He's like I said, I did a fraction of what he does today, and I'm tired.
Mm.
I don't want to be him, but I've always wanted to be. I've always been inspired by him, and
Yeah.
so Bishop has definitely been a big inspiration. And then another inspiration would be my dad. You know, my
Yes.
dad's worked his whole life, and he grew up. I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk too much about him because then he's gonna be thinking I'm talking bad about him. But he grew up working in the fields.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
dad had him working in the fields, and he taught me since a young age that if you want something, you have to work for it.
Yes.
When I said, "Dad, I want a phone," he said, "How are you gonna get it? Because I'm not gonna pay your bill. I'm not gonna buy it for you."
Yeah.
He wasn't being mean. He wasn't being a bad
He
dad.
was teaching you how to be a man,
He was
a
teaching me
young
how to be a
man.
man.
Yeah.
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 So growing up, my dad instilled that to me. If you want something, you have to work for it. And not only do you have to work for it, you have to work to keep it. So I remember, I'll just tell a little story, and we're killing time anyway. So I'll give
You
you a
good?
break because you talked a little bit. But I remember growing up, I wanted a cell phone because I'd go to school, and everybody at school would have a cell phone, but I didn't have
Mm.
one. So I kept telling my dad, I want a cell phone. I want a cell phone. He said, well, go find a way to get a cell phone. How do you do that? Well, he would say, go cut grass. Go cut the neighbor's grass. So I'd go cut the neighbor's grass. I'd go cut the neighbor's grass. I would take the lawnmower and I
Mm.
would hit every house I could. I'll walk down that street and say, "Do you need your grass cut?"
Yeah.
And then when the leaves were out, I'd go rake the leaves. Then when the
Yeah.
snow was out, I'd go shovel the snow. And no matter whatever I could do to make money, I'd go do it. And
That's
so
good.
I finally saved up enough money to buy a cell phone, and I got the phone, and my dad said, "Now you got the phone. How are you gonna put the back?
Pay the bill.
Yeah, how are you gonna pay the bill?" And back then, the only thing I could afford was a track phone, which some people have now. But if you know anything about track phones, it's minutes. So you
Yes.
had to put
Yeah.
minutes. You get
Yeah.
a certain amount of minutes you can use, and then back then too, if you had Sprint, which my mom and dad had Sprint, the weekends were free, and after 9 it was free.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think all of the major carriers was like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I used to wait till 7. Don't call me till after 7. You remember that? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't even call me. Like, what? Man, it ain't 7. And I used to get mad. I'm gonna give it back to you, but I would get mad when people would call me at like 6:50. Like, dude, call me in 10 minutes. Why you call me? But go ahead.
This story could wait. Why don't you call me later?
Yeah, call me after 7. Like, yeah, because I think one of them was 7. I think it was AT&T or something.
Yeah.
And it was one of them that I had. It was 7. But go ahead. I'll go ahead and let you finish.
So
I could.
to close it up, and I finally got a phone. It wasn't a nice phone. It was just what I could afford. Working my tail off.
Yeah.
So I finally got a phone, and my dad said, "Well, how are you gonna put the minutes on it?" So I don't know. He said, "Well, you better go back out there and start working again."
Gotta keep working.
So every
man.
time I wanted minutes or I needed to put my minutes back on that phone, I didn't even have a lot of friends, but I just wanted a phone because everybody else had one.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you got to be careful with that. You shouldn't just want what other people want because you know it costs them something. It's going to cost you something too. And if you want it, you're going to have to work for it. But just at a young age, my dad taught me to have a worker's mentality, and I started work when I was about 13 years old on cars because he taught me how to work on cars, and I've ever since then, he's been an inspiration. If you want something, you work for it. So
Yeah.
I've worked hard my whole life, and I'm always going to work hard because the way life is you're always going to want more, which is good to want more, but you have to be willing to work for it. Like we were talking about earlier, having ideas, that's not a bad thing to have ideas, but how do you translate your ideas to paper and work
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
And even being a Christian, let's talk about being a Christian. It's more than just being a Christian. How are you going to get other people saved? How are you
Yeah.
going to work the gospel? Because he didn't call you to be a Christian just in your house
Yeah.
or just on your own time. You got to get other
Mhm.
people saved too.
That's
And
true.
that's part of the Great Commission. He's calling us to go out and make disciples. But are we willing to work? And he's
Yeah.
calling us to work. So
That's
we have
true.
to be willing to work and go make disciples. And that's part of working in your purpose. I
That's
feel like
true.
we're just recapping Bishop's message, but it was a good message, and we'll just keep throwing a line in there for anybody who wants to go watch it. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was Sunday.
Yeah. It was great message. It was for sure. Yeah, man. That's good stuff. That's real good stuff. I don't know, man. It's just and this I'm gonna start sounding old, but like this generation, man, they don't want to work. Like they don't want to. I don't see the hunger. Like I just really don't. Some people got it, and I'm glad you got it. Some people have it, but it's not like when I was growing up, man. It's just like it was a hunger. Like
Yeah,
not everybody was hungry, but it was a hunger. Like, and it's like I don't see it. I don't see it, man. So,
I
but
remember when I
yeah,
was hungry. Speaking about hunger, I remember when I was hungry, all we had was rice and beans. You know, at school on Thursdays was pizza day, and when you're a kid, you love pizza.
yeah,
Pizza's your
yeah,
favorite meal. So I'd be like, Dad, I want pizza. He's like, well, we got rice and beans. I want pizza. So if I wanted a pizza, guess what? Go cut the neighbor's grass, and then I'd say, "Hey neighbor, can you take me? Can you take me to Little Caesars?" And I'd get a $5 pizza, and
yeah,
then I'd take whatever was left from that $10, give me a bag of chips and a brisk sweet tea, and
man.
that was the best meal I had that week.
I lived on hot and ready's when I lived in New York.
Yeah,
Like we used to split because me and my buddy, like man, I got so many like the stuff that God brought me through, man, is just like it be blowing my mind. But like me and my partner, one of my boys, that I went to school with, because we were struggling. It was hard, man. It was like, man, it was just a struggle. The whole time was a struggle. And but I still like I got weary at the end, like because I was there for 2 years. So and I'm 18. I'm an 18-year-old living in New York by myself, so like I didn't have family or nothing like that. So the second year it started to get weary for me. But the first year, the struggles, like it's like I was struggling, but it didn't bother me. Like I don't know, it wasn't like it still was no stress in a sense, like because I still was working, but it wasn't like I wasn't like, man, like, now it was situations where I was like, dang, God, like, what, how you gonna get me out of this or how, stuff like that. But I go back to say the hot and readies. Me and my boy used to split them hot and readies. They was $5. I would do 250. He go 250, and we would smash them hot. That was our meal. Like, we look forward to those. Like that
Yeah.
was like we look forward. Hey man, what we gonna do when we get out of class? Oh, you want to get hot bread? Yeah, let's go get a hot. Like that's what we did. Like for real. And like and that was our meal for the day. Like
Yeah.
he had half of like we talking a large. I had a half, he had a half, and we was good for the rest of the day. Like
Yeah.
so.
I remember growing up, my brother worked at McDonald's, so he had money and he would eat the
Mhm.
good pizza. He'd get Marco's and I'd cut the neighbor's grass and get Little Caesars.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just had to get what you could get. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, Little Caesars was a lot better then than it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was probably better then because we worked harder for it.
Yeah.
And when you work hard for something, you appreciate it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mm.
It just tasted better. Like in your mind, it was just like filet mignon or something. Like it
Yeah.
was, man. But yeah, man. Yep. Yep.
So I'll try to get us a little bit back on subject. We haven't really talked about your family too much. And let me ask you this. How do you balance your work life and your family life and, your church life? Because I know you're a busy person and you have a busy schedule, but if you could
Mhm.
talk about that for a little bit.
You gotta be intentional. Um, you gotta find time for it. Um, you have to really be intentional. So like if you a thing with me, I live by for the most part I live by my calendar. If it is not in my calendar, it really don't exist. I can say, hey man, let's get like if I see you and we say, hey man, let's get together. Like it don't we just talking, but it don't until I put it in my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
it really don't it's not sitting with me. Like so you have to be intentional. So like if I say Saturday is gonna be family day or whatever the case may be, I don't schedule nothing on that Saturday. So if I look at my calendar, like I gotta really take it like that, like it's serious, like it's a real appointment, So like I won't schedule anything. Or somebody say, hey man, you want to do this or this Saturday? I'll look at my calendar and it say family day or something like that or whatever, something with the fam. I can't do it, So like you gotta really be intentional. Like and occasionally, my wife will be like, oh, just go ahead. But for the most part, if it get too bad, yeah, you gotta really buckle down and be intentional. Say, I'm not doing nothing on this day. This day is for family, stuff like that. So you just gotta balance. Um, I get up early too, so I can get a lot of stuff done before everybody wake up. Even though they get up now, school they wake up early now because it's school. And then my wife she wake up early now too, but for the most part, like when she was on third shift and stuff like that, and summertime and there's no school, I would get up early and I'd be up earlier than everybody else so that I can do stuff and read or relax and stuff like that. But yeah, family, you just got to find a balance. Family, you got to be intentional. When you say this is it. You can't schedule nothing else on that day or at that time. Plus they'll tell you, your family will tell you. They'll tell you, or if my daughter come up to me, Daddy, when we gonna do this, or we gonna spend some time, then it's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
so at that point, So if my wife say something, it's a problem. So you just gotta be sensitive to that too. But yeah, man, you just gotta be intentional about things. Yeah.
And something that comes to mind when you talk about that, what I think of when you say intentional in that regard is integrity. If you say you're going to do something, you got to
Yeah.
stick to it.
Yeah.
So if you promise your wife you're going to take her out to dinner, you're going to take her out to dinner.
Yeah.
And that's important because that helps them respect you and love you and appreciate you. You were talking about something off camera before we started the podcast. If you could just tell them that Facebook and YouTube this, and they can get a smile out of it. But what did you do this last weekend with your daughter?
Oh, we every year, um, every year since she's been in school since kindergarten. But every year they have a daddy daughter dance. So we did that this Saturday, this past Saturday, daddy daughter dance. So that's always good. Like the dance, dance with her. She gave me more time this year. Usually they usually they kind of kick you like you go to the dance, like they'll have dinner for you for the dads and everybody. And then after dinner, they got like dance for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You got the big gym and the music. So usually the kids, what they do is like once they see their friends, they'll go run off and go dance and play with their friends. So typically that's what happens. But this year she actually gave me some love this year. Like she danced with me a couple of songs and and more than usual. So I was surprised. I was surprised. I think she might have heard me like talking to the other dad or something. I don't know, but so she gave me a little more time this year. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, we did that. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's good every year. That's good. So yeah, yeah, she enjoy it. I enjoy it. Um, I just want to do something after sometimes. I be wanting to go to eat, but they're like they have food there. They feed us already, so it's like I can't like go out to eat. We just ate, So I don't know. I got to try to find something. Probably next year. Next year's gonna be her last year doing that, so it only go up to sixth grade. So
Yeah, so that's gonna be special for you.
yeah, yeah,
So you're gonna have to make plans early. What you're gonna do after?
yeah. We got to do something. I don't know, even if it's a movie or something. So I'll figure it out. Yeah. So yeah, man. It's I was gonna say something earlier when you was talking, but I think the thought is gone now.
That's probably my fault. I kept going.
Nah, you good, you good. Dang, what was I gonna say?
Well, we got a few minutes left. If anybody has any questions too, you could type them in Facebook or on YouTube. We can answer some questions too. If you have any questions for Marcus.
But yeah, I'm definitely I am definitely God has definitely called me to give. I am definitely a giver. Um, and it's not always monetary. But I do give monetary too, but it's not always monetary. Like as far as my knowledge, um, everything that I learn, man, I love sharing it. Like I love sharing it. Whether it's whatever subject or whatever industry or whatever it is. Like that's definitely something God has blessed me to do and definitely called me to do to teach people. Um, he's brought me through a lot. God's brought me through a lot. So it's like I can look back at stuff now, and I can see why, or um, going through that process. How it made me stronger, stuff like that. I don't worry as much anymore. When I was younger, I would worry a little bit more. I always had good faith though. I would say I always had faith, even when I was a teenager. So I always had good faith that if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I believe stuff. It's gonna happen. I believe it's gonna happen. Um, but then like times where something didn't happen, obviously like you said, Satan get in your head and see, look, it didn't happen. Stuff like that. So um, I battled through those type of things. Uh, I just learned to just be content. Be content. Still strive for something, but be content that if it don't happen, it's a reason why. God has a reason why it hasn't happened.
Hmm.
Instead of getting mad, like, oh man, it ain't da 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 da. Well, it doesn't happen because God, we see a mountain.
Hmm.
We see the mountain. God sees the other side of the mountain. Like we can't see the other side of the mountain. That's why we don't understand why God did this or He allowed this to happen or this to happen because we just see the mountain. You know what I'm saying? But God is sending up here, and He see like you can't. I see what's on the other side of the mountain. There's a lion on that side. That's why you can't go through this door. Or it's a whatever. Something bad right here. That's why you can't go through this door. But we don't see it. We just see the door.
Yeah.
So I've learned to just trust him. If it's meant, he's going to open up the door, and it's going to be when he open up the door, it's going to be him. It's going to be ordained. It's going to be perfect. In a sense of God's perfection. So if the door never opens, it wasn't meant. So I come to that part. Understanding stuff like that. Um, but yeah, God's good, man. He's been good to me for sure. He's been good to me. He's been good to me, my family. I still got my mom, my dad, stuff like that. Still got my brothers. Um so he's been good to me and my family. So I no complaints, no complaints from me. Um I thank him every day. I thank him now. He's definitely been wonderful. He's been more than enough. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to what he got for my future, and then also being careful not to look past your present because that's important too. I was looking for my future so much, like, oh, I can't wait till I get to that, and I
Mhm.
wasn't enjoying my present. So that's another thing too. You really gotta be where you are and
Yeah.
enjoy your
Be
present.
content where God has you
Yep, yep.
and enjoy it
Hmm.
and just be in the moment. That's a
Yeah.
lot of times too we struggle with too, is that we're always looking for the next instead of just being happy where we're at. So
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
great that's a great word, and that's my
Hmm.
timer. If anybody has any questions, we'll give you a couple of minutes to chime in. If not, we're gonna end this podcast. And if I get a phone call from Bishop tonight, that probably means I did a bad job. If I don't, maybe he hasn't seen it yet. But I do want to thank everybody for watching, everybody who tuned in, for putting your comments on there. Um, Compassion loves you. I love you. Marcus loves you. Bishop loves you.
Absolutely.
Bishop misses you. I know he wishes he could have been here to do the podcast, but let's continue to pray for him that, God keeps his hand over him on his way back and protects him.
Amen.
And
Amen.
he's going through Bishop's going through a very stressful process right now, and it's because we're talking about real estate. He's also trying to buy a house too, so let's be praying
Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
bishop that you know everything works in his favor. That way he can get a new house for his family
For
and
peace.
for peace. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Peace.
yeah,
Mm.
peace of mind, even in a very stressful situation. So let's continue to pray for him in that regards. And I enjoyed having you, brother. And
Thank
if
you.
we don't get
Thank
any
you.
questions, we're gonna end this. But I would just encourage everybody just to keep going. Don't give up. Be content where God has you, and trust that He's gonna take you even further. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Absolutely.
Any
And I
questions?
enjoyed. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for uh your companionship, your friendship. Thanks for everything that you showed me. All the help. A lot of people don't know. Me and you know because we're like when we're playing and stuff like that. Zach helped me out a lot with a lot of different things, and I appreciate that. Um, I really appreciate you, man. I see you do a lot. I see you juggle a lot. I commend you for that. I don't know if
Appreciate it.
people tell you that stuff, but I commend you for that. And God is definitely, I know God is pleased with everything you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
know He is for sure, and I know He's gonna bless you. So I really believe that, and you're already blessed.
Yeah.
You just have to go get it.
Thank you.
It's already there. It's already manifested. You just got to go get it. So yeah, I appreciate you, man. Everything you do. So for
Appreciate you,
sure.
man.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah,
end this. We love you guys. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
yeah, man.